Dana, during your discussion with the attendees at this year's Financial Regulators Education Program, you offered some valuable perspective on the vital role that the regulatory community plays within the insurance ecosystem. Can you speak to that a bit for our audience of remote viewers?
Right, well, first of all, it was a pleasure to join you today here and the group earlier. The role that these folks play is just integral to the success of the entire insurance industry, right? For 80 years, we've been regulating insurance at the state level, and it's because of the work that these financial regulators do. Ensuring companies' solvency is just the base layer of everything that we do. It's the foundation that we build upon. There's so many things that we do as insurance regulators, protecting consumers, ensuring transparency, having a robust marketplace. But the foundation of that is truly financial regulation and financial solvency, and the work that these folks do to ensure that the companies in our states remain solvent, and that the work that they do can be trusted throughout the country through NAIC accreditation is just so important.
Dana, you mentioned the 80-year sort of framework for insurance regulation, undergirded, of course, by the McCarran-Ferguson Act. We'd appreciate your gloss on that, just from a big picture perspective. After 80 years, is it fair to say that system is largely intact and remains effective? What are your thoughts there?
I mean, Frank, sometimes we pass a piece of legislation and then we see how it goes. Did we make some mistakes? Was this a good piece of legislation? Are there tweaks to be made along the way? And I think that McCarran-Ferguson was a good piece of legislation that has stood very strong for 80 years. You can ask any commissioner or director in the NAIC, and they all firmly believe in state-based regulation, and would all tell you that's the reason that the industry is robust as it is. It allows states to be flexible and to address the needs of their consumers and the insurers in their state alike. No one state is the same, right? We have the NAIC to help us come up with model regulation and guidance so that we can have similarities to help regulate companies and have a uniform set of rules. But it gives us, the ability to say, what's good for me here, for example, in Illinois, might not work in Texas or might not work in Arizona, and make those changes.
Thank you, Dana. I want to shift gears a little bit and ask you to talk a bit about any national trends in the insurance regulatory community that you think might be most prominent today, and that junior regulators, specifically financial regulators of insurance, might need to know about or might need to learn a bit more about.
I wouldn't say trends so much as what's happening that they need to pay attention to, right? Not necessarily what we're doing, but what we need to be aware of. First of all, AI and technology developments, which you might say as a financial regulator, how does that apply to me? But if you look at what companies are doing using these tools for underwriting, are there biases in algorithms, et cetera? And how does this affect companies' bottom lines? It's something that they really need to pay attention to. And of course, the NAIC and states are really on top of this. Over the last couple of years, there have been a lot of developments, adding the H committee, right? Adding task forces and groups to address AI, coming up with a model AI bulletin. And then this year, most recently, coming up with regulatory guidance is the goal to help regulate and put some guardrails around AI for these companies. Will that be right for everyone? I don't know. And I think as a financial regulator, you might say, again, how does this apply to me? Companies are using it for technology. Maybe our department's considering using it. But it really impacts a company's bottom line. And as a financial regulator, that's your bread and butter. And then the second thing I would say is, the changes in climate and everything that relates to that. Increased catastrophes, et cetera. I think the way that regulators traditionally, analyze companies, look at risk-based capital, reserves, et cetera, modeling isn't going to work anymore, right? We have 100-year floods that happen, every 2 years now. And I think especially when regulators are trying to predict and look at what companies' solvency might be for 5, 10 years plus down the road, having tools to look at that in a different light and being able to evolve and adjust to that is growing ever more increasing.
Thank you, Dana. In light of your comments, appreciate your thoughts on the importance of education and ongoing learning within the regulatory community, given all that's in play today.
Yeah, it's everything, right? I think sometimes people who don't know about insurance kind of think of it as a stagnant industry. And maybe it was 70 years ago, but it's certainly not today. I think that the way that technology is evolving, the way that both departments and companies alike need to keep up with it, it's just changing so quickly. It's hard to get in front of it, right? So I think all that we can do as financial regulators, as leaders, anything that we can do to educate ourselves, to the use of these technologies and stay in front of it so that we can effectively and efficiently do our jobs is paramount.
Any words of advice or encouragement for junior financial regulators watching the session today? What would you like to share there?
Well, first of all, I want to just say how important they are and how important their jobs are. When I was director at the Illinois Department of Insurance, I really tried to use words of gratitude and appreciation to let people know just how important their jobs are and how much we all depend on them. And that's a lot of pressure, yes, but I think also having so much meaning attached to the work that you do really gives people a purpose. And I'm so grateful for the individuals that have chose to go into this line of work and do the work they do. It's complicated, it's stressful, but it's also incredibly meaningful, and the impact is very real and measurable, which you can see by looking at the insurance market in your state and how vital and how robust the industry is there. The second thing I would say is, and I used to joke a lot with my staff and you as well, we don't have to take ourselves too seriously, but we can take our job seriously. And I think that the work is very serious, and it's really easy to get tied up in that. But I think having a good time with your colleagues and laughing through stressful, challenging times is a way to really stay above that and balance the technical and difficult nature of the work with the importance of work-life balance and enjoying yourself in your career.
Dana, thank you for visiting with us. We really appreciate you sharing your insight with our audience.
My pleasure.